I'm now going to call on my work colleague, John Reid, who is going to conclude the presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yvonne. I hope you can all hear me okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is John Reid. I'm a colleague of Yvonne Corcoran, curator, and I was delighted to have an opportunity to work on this important project. In the first instance, I'd like to add my voice to what Yvonne was saying earlier and thank the various people and organisations on both sides of the Atlantic, but especially here in Cleveland, who've done so much to ensure that these events have come to fruition. On a personal level, I had the great pleasure of interviewing 5 historians as part of this process, all who treated me with great courtesy and all who imparted their knowledge willingly. And those people were Sean Cadden, who spoke earlier, his wife Peggy, who is in the audience tonight, James Redioff, Neil O'Donnell, who was in the main interviewed by his son Tony, and John McNamara from Achill, known as John the Twin. And Sean and Peggy have continued to research this collection and made many new discoveries over the past couple of years, compiling family trees and historical listings, much, of course, which is on display here this evening. And this indeed adds greatly to our knowledge and understanding not only of Pat's collection, but of the Civil War period in Newport generally. And Mick Mulcrone, who spoke and sang indeed so eloquently just now, played a really important role. He, Sean and Peggy travelled to the museum on numerous occasions to examine the papers and offer advice. And anyone who knows him knows he's a superb academic and researcher, and he was in many ways the link or the glue between the Michael Davitt Museum and the city of Cleveland, 4,000 miles away. So thank you, Mick. Now, back in Mayo, the exhibition was enhanced by photographs from the Jack Lillard collection. And Jack was the definitive photographer from the period, but not only that, he was a key participant in both the War of Independence and the Civil War. So a special thank you to his grandson, Anthony Lillard, for lending us some of those photographs from that era for this evening's presentation. And Anthony is the custodian of that collection, which is subject to copyright. However, should anyone wish to contact him in relation to it, his contact details are available on a flyer in this room. Now, also in respect of the exhibition, with specific reference to back in Mayo, Michael Ring TD kindly provided copies of documentation relating to his great-uncle Joe Ring, who played a major role in Ireland's independence struggle. And Joe Ring is standing on the extreme right of this iconic photograph from the Lillard collection, with Michael Kilroy featuring on the extreme left. Now, I'd also like to mention Tara Flanagan, a student who recently completed a dissertation titled Hidden History, Memories of the Civil War in Newport, which drew heavily on the Pat Chambers paper. So congratulations to Tara, and that document will shine a further light on this era. We were delighted to receive a visit at the Davitt Museum this summer from Jerry Quinn, the president of the Mayo Society of Greater Cleveland, his son Jerry Jr. and his son's wife Charlene. And they were in the company of Michael Larkin and dropped by to view the Civil War papers, which was very much appreciated by us, as were visits from many other Clevelanders over the past 18 months. Now, I want to pay tribute to Pat Chambers, to Liz, Maggie, Patrick, the entire Chambers family, because quite simply, it's already been stated, without Pat, none of us would be here this evening. He instinctively recognised the importance of the papers and quickly got them to the safe haven that was the Michael Davitt Museum. And it's been Pat's dream since 2021 to bring his collection here to Cleveland as he knew more than anyone it would resonate strongly with the community over here. And it was wonderful to hear Pat speak so passionately earlier, and also his niece spoke and recited the poetry beautifully as well. Now, one of the highlights of this project for me certainly was Pat's daughter Maggie's interview with Pat's 94-year-old aunt Phil on the subject of the Civil War in Newport. And Phil Chambers spent much of her youth in and around the Mulcrone household, around the vicinity where the papers were found. So again, thanks to Pat, the Chambers family and his many friends and relations that attended the various events over the past few days. Now finally, I should mention that we have collated all the interviews carried out on this project in both audio and written format, and it's our intention in due course to donate copies of those to Margaret Lynch for filing with the Irish American Archives here in Cleveland. So I hope you all enjoyed this evening's presentation. Thank you for attending. Please take time to examine the exhibits, and thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, John. I'm now just going to call on Pat Chambers and Margaret Lynch for 2 minutes because Pat would like to make a presentation.
I'd like to present Margaret Lynch with a Chambers history book on behalf of the Chamber, all the Chambers, from across Cleveland and Mayo and around the world.
Thank you very much, everybody. I know you've been sitting here long, but you might have a few questions. They'll be around for a while, and they've got the displays. Sean Cadden has some blow-ups of some of the genealogical information. The jar itself is up here, and we're sure that they'd love to hear your questions, talk to you. But we have a couple of questions first before we disperse. If there's anything you didn't understand or just want to clear up before we disperse, let me know. Anybody got a question? Yes, ma'am.
Where is the Michael Davitt Museum at?
Michael Davitt Museum is in Strayed, County Mayo. Yes?
Michael Davitt Museum is in Strayed, County Mayo, and it's just about an hour's drive from Achill. So you can look at our website, www.michaeldavittmuseum.com, and all our details are on there. And we would love you all to visit the Michael Davitt Museum if you are on vacation in Mayo.
It's not far from Swinford, if you're in that direction. Other questions?
Any other questions?
Hi, just on the letters, just curiosity on my part, did they mention, any of the brothers mention of the general election where the treaty was approved before the Civil War? Did they mention at all, any mention of the plebiscite?
No, that wasn't mentioned, you're right. There was a vote in Dáil Éireann, and it was very close. I think it was like 63 to 57 in favor of the treaty after a long debate. And the anti-treaty people, led by Eamon de Valera, left the Dáil. And in Mayo, Mayo was and the western counties were very anti-treaty. I think 4 out of the 5 TDs, that's the equivalent of a senator, legislator, at the national level, were anti-treaty. There was only 1 out of 5 that was pro-treaty. So it was a close vote in Dáil Éireann. There was not a national referendum over it. Had there been early on, the treaty would have probably gone down, but time had passed, the powers to be had enforced their opinion that they should settle with the British on their terms. And people, in fairness, a lot of people were very weary of the war, but there's no mention of the vote in Dáil Éireann. And again, the hostilities themselves began when Winston Churchill threatened all-out war if the anti-treaty people were not crushed. So that's a little bit of context. Of course, it's much more complicated than that, but that's a general kind of view of it.
I know that there are a lot of people here whose family members had connection with that Irish struggle for independence and the Civil War, and I've, begun to share information with the folks in Ireland about that. Mick and I have corresponded about another thing, and they're very aware that this was a strong community in support of that struggle. Any other last questions? Yes.
Why did he send you the accordion back to Ireland? Why didn't you keep it here?
I live in Ireland.
Did your aunt or whoever owned it?
She lived here, yeah. Well, she gave it to me, and presumably she wanted me to use it. I was about 9 years of age, maybe. So I've always had it with me. I didn't have it in Alaska when I lived in Alaska, but I had it in Oregon, and now I have it in Ireland.
He's a musician.
Yeah.